Introduce Mrs. Hazel Burnett. Presently, Mrs. Burnett is the Executive Director of the Dairy Council of St. Joseph Valley, Incorporated. She is a graduate of Purdue University, and she has done her graduate work at Indiana University and at Notre Dame. She has taught at the Purdue Extension. She has worked very diligently for many years with 3 children as a TV producer and a broadcaster with WSBT commercial television in South Bend. Also, at the same time, she has done freelancing, radio writing, and so on. Some of her present activities include newsletter editor of the Indiana Home Economics Association. She is also on the Materials Advisory Committee for the National Dairy Council. She is president of the Hoosier chapter of the American Women in Radio and TV. Her speech today will include mainly fundamentals of good nutrition for every teacher.
It's a delight to be here. I didn't bring the hot weather. I'm not to blame at all. All of you came extremely well laden this morning because you have all of the information that you probably feel that you need in the area of foods and nutrition. You're specialists in it. You're experts in it. You've been eating for, 21 years. 3 times a day, 5 times a day, 6 times a day, 7 a day. So you really know just about all you need to know about food and nutrition. Now, the few minutes that I'm going to spend with you will not basically change any concept that you have. It may color it a little bit, but it will not change it. Hopefully, it may alter it slightly. It doesn't make any difference if I were the most fabulous teacher in the world, which I'm not, or the most dynamic speaker in the world, which I'm not. I could not get to this basic concept of something that is so part of you. If I were really going to start to help to change any of your basic concepts about nutrition, I should have started with your grandparents. Because how you eat is influenced by so many different factors. Now, you come from a wide variety of backgrounds, training, experience, and I really don't know too much about you, and so I'd like to have you give me just a little bit of information so that we have a common ground on which to begin. You'll notice that I didn't start out with a definition of good nutrition. We don't have one. We never did have one. Oh, goody, goody, goody. What is this happening there? Just have begun. We're just in time for the fireworks. Just think how many more concepts just walked in. Thank you for coming. We have just begun by saying that the subject that we're going to talk about today, food and nutrition, is one upon which you already are experts. And since I'm only one expert against obviously a room of some 35 experts, I want to know what you experts think about food, nutrition, and good health. So I'd like to have you just sort of fold your paper in thirds crosswise. And in the top third, as you take this out, see, I don't want you to get real lengthy. I want you to be just as brief as possible. And I want you to tell me what you think of. What would be your definition of, shall we say, good health? Let's just start out. We'll have one definition of good health. Just write it, just assume, what is it? What's your interpretation of it? We're talking about nutrition and good health. I want to define our terms. A minute, 40 seconds. Get it out. Good health.
Yeah, just push them back and then
push them over. Take a look at that definition. In effect here, what we have is one expert, you have your own definition. Are you a little surprised about the definition that you got from the other person? Does this change your idea a little bit? Could you do a little bit better job if you were given another chance to write a definition now? Would you incorporate some of these? Would you contradict some of his? Well, don't just sit there. Do it. Write another definition. What is good health? We don't have a good definition of good health. I'm looking for one. Out of this may come, who knows? One that even Dr. White or Dr. Schultz tomorrow will think, boy, haven't I thought of that. Good health. Put your number on this section. Pass it again. Pass it to a different person. We have 3 experts now. You're going to know more than I do. Now, my particular emphasis today is on nutrition in good health. Frankly, I don't even think I've got a very good definition of nutrition. So you see, you're getting more expert all the time because now you have 2 opinions, and I haven't even given you one yet. I'd like to have your opinion now. Just your basic opinion. Very briefly, just a sentence maybe, on what effect does the food that you consume, the food and the liquid that you consume or ingest have on this interpretation that you have of good health? Some of you look at me as if you were very suspicious that I've carefully chosen these words. Well, I suspect I have. What effect does the food and liquid that you consume or ingest have on your good health? Put your number on this one. are turning. Sweet. I think we're thinking. Let's have a little fun now. Let's cool those heated brains. We're going to set the stage again after you pass these papers in. Mrs. Thompson, we have another one now. I meant all the pink ones. No, you're not going to use your brain for a while. Is that a relief? Somebody can play the old game, I'm sure. You've done it ever since you were in grade school. If I say black, what do you say? If I say boy? Well, I'm not going to say those words. I'm going to say words that you're going to react to in a degree. If you'll notice your paper here, you will find that this word association, I'd like to have you react to these words. As I say, just turn this thing off up here. Just react. There are some words that you're going to act to. Very good. Okay, definitely do not like. And some look. Hey. First word, and maybe it might be better if you close your eyes as I say this first word. Play the game with me. Cookie. Cookie.
Are we supposed to put a check in the right?
Put a check wherever you feel that your reaction to this. Cookie. Buttermilk. Buttermilk. A sneaky one. Oh, I think it's time for a nice piece of beef steak. Steak. Liver. I'm not even going to ask you to put your numbers on this one, but I do want your papers. How about topping our meal off with a nice big luscious piece of chocolate cake? Hey, we don't have any vegetables in that meal. How about broccoli? Maybe beans. You see who was in which branch of the service. How about on a hot day like this, how about some pop? You use whatever trade name you want to use there. I can't. You can. Ice cream? I thought it would be hot today. Turnip. Now don't you dare touch those papers. Are you all involved now? Are you all interested in finding out what everybody else said? All right. Now, I purposely tried to get you involved and get your mind thinking because I wanted you to think in terms of good health, nutrition, those fine words up there. But how many of you said you liked cookies very well? Yes. Do you know what cookie means to me? If I'm a good girl, I'll get a cookie. In other words, you get this feeling way back. It's way back in here. Cookies is sweet, mother, warm, the smell of cookies coming out of the oven. Food value? Well, take a look at it. Take a look at it. You get approximately 4% of your calories, your daily, this is for an adult. You get a little protein because there happens to be some egg in it. And if there were egg in it, you might get a little bit of iron. And if you had 3 small or 1 ounce, these are really 1 ounce is not very big, you would have consumed 65 calories. Now, how did you respond to the next one? Buttermilk. How many of just hate buttermilk? You just couldn't drink it. Mm-hmm. I know. Were you reacting? Were you reacting emotionally or nutritionally? In other words, 36 over a third of your calcium quotient for the day could be obtained in 1 glass, 8 ounces of buttermilk, but it would provide you with approximately the same number of calories as the cookie did. Much more filling. Hi, look at the difference in protein. Look at the difference in niacin, riboflavin, all of these bonuses. And this is cheaper than this. Are we using our heads? Well, I'll give you a bonus here. I'm not sure whether you like buttermilk. Maybe you'd rather have milk. Let's see. We'll take another look at that one later. How about that lean steak? Anybody didn't like it? Well, you'd be in the most unusual one. The nearest thing that I could come from the standpoint of a chart that would be visual to you would be this one, which is meat patty. It doesn't make any difference if you grind it up. It's the same thing. But you'll notice that 36% of protein comes from just 3 ounces cooked. This is the cooked patty, with only an expense of 245 calories. I wish I would have had a picture of your faces when I said the next word. Yours particularly. I particularly picked these because both of these can be purchased for approximately 49 cents a pound in my market area. The difference in the calories, liver is 4 ounces before cooking, and it is which reduces only to about 3 ounce serving after cooking at 160 calories as opposed to 245 calories with the ground meat patty. And look at that load in nutrition. Well, if you're balancing a budget, maybe you ought to consider this once in a while. Is there anybody who isn't balancing a budget? 235% of riboflavin. Riboflavin is not stored in the body. 139% of niacin. 39% of ascorbic acid. This is always a surpriser, this last column, that there's vitamin C in liver. But 100% of your iron you will see no other food that is edible in this particular country that has that high a count on the iron. I bet everybody loved that chocolate frosted cake, didn't you? Well, you've got 380 calories here. Your dentist hates you. You don't have much protein. You do have a little bit of iron because there is a little bit of iron in chocolate, as well as the egg in the mixture. Vitamin A, because of course it's a butter cake and it has the vitamin A in butter. And the other three in here are from the amount of flour that you use. It doesn't account one bit for this unusual expenditure of calories. But I don't think that chocolate cakes with chocolate icing are going to drop off the scale very, very long. The next one I mentioned was broccoli, and I do not have a chart for that. I figured that, but for 3-ounce serving, which will be approximately half to 2/3 of a cup, for only 100 grams, but it will provide you with 100% of your vitamin A requirement each day, 5,000 grams. Niacin is very high in niacin with 1.6 milligrams. It is also high in iron, and I mention that and particularly chose broccoli for that reason. And I figured that maybe with those budgets to consider, that maybe we better take another look at navy beans. 100 grams, or approximately 3.5 ounces cooked, will give you around 100 calories, but it will give you 15 grams of protein. And when you measure the cost of navy beans against steak, there's a lot of protein at a very cheap cost there. Well, I think by this time your brains have been working till you're quite warm, and you thought, boy, a cool, blank drink would taste real good. Those of you who are teaching elementary school students, I hope that this is implanted on that retina of your mind as you look at your little half-pint kids. Your little half-pint kids will hold 8 ounces of this or 8 ounces of this. They can't hold 8 ounces of both. As a preacher's wife once said to me, she said, that's why the good Lord made parents older than children. They're supposed to be smarter. I did say ice cream. I did say your hides a little bit. Yes, there is some nutrition. You're paying for it more in the calorie counter over here, but you do have some added benefits here that are worthwhile. And I had to bring in turnips. How many of you just love turnips? Well, you're kind of in the minority. How many of you just couldn't? It would be the last thing you would pick up. Calories for 100 gram serving, 23. The nutrition is 22 milligrams of vitamin C. We don't often think of something like a root vegetable as being a good source of vitamin C, but turnips are a good source of vitamin C. Does it surprise you a little bit? Now if I were to ask you to write your idea of your mental picture, your mental image, your mental thought concerning food, will it be a little bit different now? It might be, because you'd have a little guilt feeling about it, wouldn't you? You involved, I hope so. You know, that particular reaction, even among some educated men who served, particularly in the Korean War, when food and prisoner of war camps were so bad that men actually starved to death because they refused to eat. Some of these were unfamiliar foods, such as raw fish. Their revulsion to it was so great, despite the fact that their reason told them that this was protein, that they needed it. They preferred starvation. This happens. Our emotions can be so strong. For instance, if you are a health teacher at the high school or junior high school level counseling an obese girl or a boy, it's very easy for you to say, knock it off, use your muscles more than your spoon. But there is so much psychological involvement with this coat of fat that the individual has put around him that he is reluctant to take it off. Sometimes it would appear almost as if he were naked without the fat, because he's used this compulsive eating to cover his secret feelings. So when you are counseling, go back a little bit farther. Does cooking mean love to a love-starved child? This may be why. We had one obese boy at Mishawaka High School. Didn't lose an ounce, and he assured us that he was on his diet. But he forgot to tell us that he had 12 donuts one day. After he ate the school lunch, and they counted his tray and all this sort of thing, the nurse patted him on the back, and he went over to the store and he bought a dozen of these glazed donut things. He wasn't losing an ounce, couldn't understand it. He had a problem. Man can live without shelter. You can live without a house, and right now it's a good idea, unless it's air conditioned. Aborigines still live without shelter. Man can live without clothes, but he cannot live without food. I wonder what your answers were on the ingestion of food. Some of them were fine. His selection and his body's use. His selection and his body's use, we vary. Determined, your size, this way and his stamina. Are you coaching a team? His sense of well-being. It's hard for us to understand how a dictator can conquer a country. But if the feeding level is reduced, lowered and lowered and lowered, you can reduce the feeling of well-being. Yes, we are beginning to understand that man's selection of food and his body's use of that food, we're just getting into the threshold of this, can determine even his intelligence. And in spite of all of this, in spite of what we know and what we suspect and what we're finding out, our record is pretty poor. Obesity is the nation's greatest illness, the greatest health problem. It's an illness. 50% of women over 50 are diagnosed as 20% or more overweight. Don't look so smug, men. 40% of men over 50. And this is, as we become less active, it is going to be a greater problem. In a recent survey conducted throughout the nation from various extension services and the Nutrition Division of the United States Department of Agriculture, the teenage girl is shown to be the poorest fed member of the family group. 60% of them skip or eat inadequate breakfast because hair and face and makeup and time are more important than food. Despite the fact that almost 70% of the babies born are born to first, second, and third children are born to girls under the age of 21. These diets are low in vitamin A, so that her resistance to disease is lowered. Her calcium content is low, resulting in many early postpartum problems. Her iron is very low. Vitamin C is low. These are quite characteristic of teenage girls, and this does not seem to have any relationship with income at all. You can find these in the swank suburbia, not quite as much, because I think swank suburbia's mothers nag a little bit more effectively, care a little bit more, but they're found there just as much as they are in the inner city. However, the teenage boy, her brother, seems to be doing pretty well. Of course, that's because, having some of you just passed through this stage, you know that they will just eat anything that won't eat them first. So they do pretty well. Older people are a great concern of people of the nutritionists now, because as their calorie needs are reduced to quite low as 1,200, 1,300, and 1,400 calories a day, depending on size and activity, their choice of food must be much more selective, and they become even more careless about their food. I think I mentioned about the obese kids. Many mothers that you will counsel with and saying, watch it. We find many nurses who are saying that girls will come back, they will weigh them in spring, they will come back in the fall and have gained 15 pounds. Now this will be in the 6th grade, 7th grade, or 8th grade. Something is wrong. For the adolescent problems and imagination and so forth, they're substituting eating for problem solving. And unfortunately, fat kids grow up to be fat people. To translate these recommendations into food, we have some source material. Where do we get this information of what kids really ought to have? This is a book which you may be familiar with. These are the dietary allowances. This happens to be the 6th revision of the 1964 edition of the National Academy of Sciences, National Research Council. This is the report of the Food Nutrition Board. Now, they set up certain basic patterns which say that it is recommended that you have certain things. Since 1940, the Food Nutrition Board has developed formulations of daily nutrient intake, which were judged to be adequate for the maintenance of good nutrition in the population of the United States. These formulations were designated recommended dietary allowances. The advertiser, unfortunately, my quotes, my parentheses in here, misuses this term. Recommended dietary allowances in order to indicate that they were value judgments based on the existing knowledge of nutritional science and subject to revision every 5 years is the usual policy as new knowledge became available. The allowances are intended to serve as goals towards which to aim in planning food supplies and as guides for the interpretation of food consumption records of groups of people. Actual nutrition status of groups of people or individuals must be judged on the basis of physical, biochemical, and clinical observations combined with observations on food or nutrient intake. It is merely a reference, and the guide will give these references to you in a guide such as this. This is the basis on which all of the nutritionists have worked or agree to work. In other words, this is a frame of reference. For instance, we will say that the man of between 18 and 35 who weighs around 70 kilos, 175 centimeters in height. This is 154 pounds, 69 inches. Nobody fits that right on the button. He will need approximately 290 calories. However, as he gets older, perhaps approaching 58, his 2,900 calories will be reduced to by 700 calories. So you see how much more careful he will have to get the older he gets in order to keep his stamina, shape, and alertness as it applies to food consumption. He will need almost all throughout his life, both men and women, he will require around 70 grams of protein. The woman will require around 58 grams of protein. So when you sit down to a steak, she doesn't have to have quite as big a steak as you do. However, when you go to the grocery store, you do not buy food by grams, milligrams. You buy it by food. And this is the table that we work with. This is the composition of foods, raw, processed, and prepared. This is Agriculture's Handbook number 8. I do not think that you would be interested in having this unless you were actually going to do some meal planning. Most dietitians have this and use it as a ready reference for schools and so forth. It is in your library if you'd like to check it up. I brought it in case we get into a discussion on calories or nutrient content. So what is normal diet? How many of you remember the basic 7? Remember that? Was established in 1940, lasted through 1958. And then it went to what we call the basic 4. And as I hold it up to you, this is a food translation of nutrient needs. You're going to say, no, I'm not able. Well, I hope you have. But I'm going to show you a little bit additional material about it today, which I hope will give you a little bit better tool if you are going to teach this, or perhaps even teach yourself to not change. I don't ask anybody to change, but maybe alter. Maybe you will have a serving of liver in the next week or 2. I'll give you a recipe. These are the basic 4. In other words, this nutrition line, in terms of grams and so forth, has been translated into food. And for the average adult, if you consume 2 or more glasses per adult, it will fulfill some of your needs. We have mentioned here some of you have small children, 3 or more glasses for milk. But children, and by children under 9, we mean maybe the glass shouldn't be an 8-ounce glass. Maybe it should be 5 ounces at one meal, 6 ounces, so that it is scattered over a day's period of time. I'm sorry, boys, this isn't a half pound or a pound T-bone steak. It isn't a great big filet like this. 2 or more servings of 2 to 3 ounces cooked lean meat. So, and you have, of course, the inclusion of beans and some of these others. This is the groundwork. This is the jigsaw puzzle that you put together, and these are the parts of it. 4 or more servings of fruits and vegetables. And I emphasize, or more. Breads and cereals, 4 servings. And by 4 servings, I mean a slice of bread is a serving of rice is a serving of spaghetti, and I don't mean, you know what you get it, the great big mounding one. This is a 3-ounce, 3.5-ounce serving of spaghetti cooked is a serving of cereal. We go overboard on this one. You will notice that this also contains here the nutritional statements made in this chart have been reviewed by the Council of Food and Nutrition of the American Medical Association and found consistent with current authoritative medical opinion. And this edition is 1966. And this features the changes in thinking of vitamin A and the reduced calories. Because we, the Dairy Council, this happens to be a Dairy Council piece of material, it's repeated so many times that people wonder where it came from. We've actually removed butter from this. Not because of the cholesterol argument, but we did remove it for the reason that we had to reduce the calories. 200 calories less was a recommendation of the Food and Nutrition Board of the National Research. This is the foundation of a good diet. Why? What do we get? How do we get from this? Well, if we get 100%, if we follow those instructions, how will it work out? This is a new piece of material that we're developing at National Dairy Council. We originally started out wanting to make an overhead projection deal of overlays. We ran into so many problems. We visualized pie charts, which can't get any more than 100% in the pie chart. We visualized bar charts, and bar charts do not seem to be too graphic for at least teenagers and for many adults who do not have your experience with visualizing. And so we decided that we would use the cube. First we started with this and then found that we would probably need something a little bit more tangible. In other words, if we would fill our guide based on this to our individual needs, calorie needs, nutrition needs, age needs, size needs, and everything that we were supposed to eat, our nutrition requirements to be filled 100%. Are they? Let's see. Suppose we follow these requirements of a basic 4 and use 2 glasses of milk. This is 2 glasses of milk. This happens to be based on percentage figures of the woman, 18 to 35. We chose this one as our first individual to study because we found the teenage girl is the poorest fed and her mother is next. And these are in the childbearing years. She would get almost a third, not quite a third, of her protein requirements Her meat, of course, if she eats only this amount, this isn't a great deal, would provide her with almost half her protein needs. 14% are from vegetables. Many people are surprised, not thinking that vegetables are a source of protein, but they do make a significant contribution. Breads and cereals? Yes. Wheat germs, the rice, there is protein in these things too, or they would not germinate and regrow. Isn't that fine? If she follows those requirements, she will actually follow this order, she will get 109%. Well, good. She will have the nutritional box as far as the protein box is concerned. Still, it will just flood up. She'll be fine. And yet she doesn't. Surveys show she doesn't. Calcium is another one that we're concerned about, particularly with this woman, this girl. You may need to consider this too. 2 glasses of milk. This is whole milk. Skim milk will even increase this a little bit more, because when you take the fat off and you replace it with more milk that has the calcium element added to it. 72%. These are not Dairy Council figures. These are United States Department of Agriculture figures. These are from laboratories throughout the country who have been working on the chemical analysis of these foods. Meat. Well, we thought meat gives almost half of our protein needs, but boy, it sure doesn't add much to calcium, does it? Just a smidgen. Vegetables and fruit a significant amount. Breads and cereals, not too much. And even then, you don't come up to quite this amount. So this is why we emphasize, particularly during the childbearing years here, and during periods of heavy activity, the man who golfs, tennis, fishes, so forth, his calcium needs are higher. We're finding a great deal about calcium metabolism and the calcium balance in the astronauts. Have you read some of the information concerning this? So you see how important it is that we follow this group. Because this is 97%, this is why we say 2 or more glasses.
Have you ever heard of people who have an oversupply of calcium or have calcium deposits on their
Calcium deposits, but this is not a metabolism thing, and it's a medical problem rather than general nutrition.
Well, my
Much
sister
research.
can't drink too much milk because it does give us all the calcium deposits on her teeth and they have her teeth branched.
I don't believe there's any research behind that. Some people metabolize it. Isn't calcium in this particular case? These are plaques, though. That's one. Down to iron. This is the one. We mentioned this back from 18 to 35. This gal is notoriously low here. Even with the 2 glasses of milk, you practically know. People are really surprised that there is a little residue. The meat group. Now, at this particular point, I would like to explain in this meat group. If we take 2 or more servings per day, 7 days a week, we would end up with 28 ounces of meat. In calculating this particular percentage figure, those 28 ounces were figured on the basis 2 ounces of beef, 2 ounces of pork, 2 ounces of chicken, 2 ounces of beans, 2 ounces of fish, 1 ounce of liver. And there was another 1 ounce in there someplace. I forget exactly where it is because I didn't bring those research figures along with me. And so we came up with only 24% in the meat group. If liver were served more frequently, this would jump up. And this is why I emphasize and use liver on this reaction thing. We get significant amounts of iron in vegetables, providing there are enough dark green vegetables used, bread and cereal. But even then, 60%. They will be in the fruit and vegetable. See, these were only counted. These don't use these as a consistent source. You see, so they were figured, but they were figured only as one part, as we realistically figured liver in this particular category. Vitamin A, you remember my mentioning saying many people are low in this. And this is, again, notice the amount. 82% of vitamin A comes from fruits and vegetables. Your dark yellow and your dark green ones. The box is filled clear up, 142%. But could you cut down on this? Well, if you cut down on this, you would be cutting down someplace else. So this is why we're trying to explain we're needing the material and the balance across the board. In riboflavin, because milk supplies such a great quantity, and you see riboflavin is one of those things that's quite generous in nature and comes clear across the board, more so than any other nutrient. Environment, now that bread and cereals are enriched by law, we are raising this up to a significant amount of 35%, which raises your total to 133% if you follow the basic four. And you're getting, of course, the most out of this unit, but significant amount from the milk and the meat and the vegetables and fruit juice as well. The last one, we mentioned that one of our troublesome nutrients is vitamin C. You see, you do get significant amounts from milk. A significant amount, not much. But absolutely none from the meat group, absolutely none from the bread and cereals group. Not even traces. And 141. What? Yes. But you see, liver is not used as a basic source for this particular reason. Because it is not something that is consumed every day. Liver is not, vitamin C is not stored in the body. So if it is not consumed, then it isn't used. That particular day, if you're going to have servings of liver, then perhaps you could use a less noticeable source. But of course, what is the big source here is citrus fruits and vegetables. Turnips, I mentioned, is high in vitamin C, broccoli, cabbage, many of these others. You have some questions at this particular point. We really have some other points to cover. Your question concerning calcium deposits is one of them. If any other question is argued more than cholesterol in medical research circles, it's the deposit of calcium.
Well, I know when she was saying it for our last child, she said in the fifth one, they had to give her 5 times the vitamin pills with a non-human pregnant woman because of this.
You see, we are talking here of a normal person. Individuals will vary. This may be another medical, a specific medical problem. This is why I specifically read the introduction on this. These are for groups and general guidelines. Would you give me just space on time? Time? 10:45. I thought so. All right. I'm going to give you some guidelines. Nutrition is a very, very popular subject. Everybody's a specialist on it. We are bombarded with information from companies, from laboratories, from health and food status. This has been a concern of the nutrition division, the many various departments of nutrition in the various different departments of state land-grant colleges, bona fide research organizations. So finally, about 3 years ago, an interagency committee was set up of all of the departments of the government to find out what were some basic guidelines from these all research. What do you really want to know? What do you really have to know? What is most important to know? And they came up with what is known as 4 concepts. You will see these referred to frequently. It is a good rule to follow. Remember these, because against these, new research can be placed where it fits into almost this, one of these basic, what I want is the chart of the elements, we could find those gaps. Nutrition is the food you eat and how the body uses it. We eat food to live, to grow, to keep healthy and well, and to get energy for work and play. When I first heard these, after knowing the labor pains that this particular committee were going under for all these many months, Dr. Hill was the chairman of this committee, Dr. Mary Hill, and they finally called in semantists to help them out, so that every word has been carefully chosen, so that no matter where the concepts will go, there is a basic understanding of work and play. In other words, we're getting away from this concept that work is an end completely to itself. Play is important too. Food is necessary for this. Food is made up of different nutrients. Does everybody need to know vitamins and recognize them when they see them, their molecular structure and so forth? No. But you do need to know that food is made up of different nutrients needed for health and growth. All nutrients needed by the body are available through food. All nutrients are available through food. Many kinds and combinations of food can lead to a well-balanced diet. So you really don't actually have to have a liver if you substitute someplace else. No food by itself, not milk, not liver, has all the nutrients needed for full growth and health. Each nutrient has specific uses in the body, and most nutrients do their best work in the body when teamed with other nutrients. All persons throughout life have need for the same nutrients, but in varying amounts. You see why I didn't want to get too involved with this discussion. In varying amounts. The amounts are influenced by age, sex, size, activity, and state of health. That state of health is euphemistically known as pregnancy and lactating mothers, among others. Suggestions for the kinds and amounts of food needed are made by trained scientists. And this, I believe, and I still argue with this one, I mean whose evidence is documented and reproducible by other scientists. This is what we mean by trained scientists, is that it is reproducible by other scientists in other laboratories. They come up with the same answer after the first finding. The way food is handled, here's the homemaker, influences the amount of nutrients in food, its safety, appearance, and taste. Handling means everything that happens to food while it is being grown, processed, stored, and prepared for eating. These originally were 1,800 concepts, boiled down to 4. You will see this in all scientific journals and many publications. Now, for any of your teaching experiences and for your work, you will find that a handbook is helpful. This is one that we've developed at National Dairy Council from the standpoint of giving you some of the basics of food counseling. This, too, is a publication which has been reviewed by Dr. Hoyt, whom we will hear this afternoon, and his Food and Nutrition Committee. As the nutritional statements made herein, and the statement appears on the cover, are found consistent with nutritional information. Professor, you need some more?
Yes, we do. Do you have any other?
I have one more which you may use, and I will get another one. I think Professor has one, and then we can,
Okay, I'll get it.
Yeah, all right. Here, just a second. Hazel Stibling, who has since retired from the Ag Research Division, has a statement on the inside of this cover, which she wrote for this. People have always known that they must eat to live, children to grow normally, and adults to keep strong. But food can do more than satisfy physiological hunger and carry psychological and social values. Modern science shows that all of us, regardless of purse, can add years to our life and life to our years if we apply knowledge about nutrition to our selection and use of food. So maybe your reaction to your brain working and those beautiful pink papers that I have and will digest and tabulate, and perhaps the reactions on your yellow papers will come in a little closer context. I have here, and I'm going to just repeat very briefly about this, the nutrition books. There are book lists that are available at almost every library that give you recommended and non-recommended books. Nutrition books for lay readers, because you will frequently be asked about some of these things. This one is distributed by the Indiana State Nutrition Council through the Indiana State Board of Health. This was compiled by the new Food Nutrition section of the Massachusetts Public Health Association, and it is divided into books recommended on general nutrition, recommended books on special diets and diet therapy, recommended books that expose and combat food fads and fallacies, and non-recommended books on special diets. I don't think that any of you will be surprised to find that Dr. Herman Keller's book, Calories Don't Count, which was a big seller for almost 2 years, is not on the recommended list. Dr. Keller, of course, is no longer able to practice medicine. His license has been revoked because of his unprofessional ethics and his use of permitting his name to be used to publish a book on quack nutrition. I'm not sure whether any of you are familiar with a fantastic cartoon called Eat and Meat or Not. But early in May, shortly after Professor Stinton asked me to do this, these 3 cartoons appeared, and I'd like to use them as a closer. Eat is a mild, modest man on the street. Meat is. And Eat is the promoter. We can put a gray flannel suit and Madison Avenue address right over him. I'm the first person, says Eat, with guts enough to publish a real, bona fide misleader. Its purpose is to honestly and courageously misrepresent the facts. It should be the bestseller come election time. His second paragraph, my encyclopedia of misleading information, quote, that's the name of the publication, is perfect for this day and age. Time was years ago when most of the world was ignorant. Now the ignorant are being replaced by the misinformed. That's progress. Final one. Eat finally speaks. Eat, I think it's in very bad taste to publish an encyclopedia with all the wrong information in it. And Eat stands his ground and defiantly says, after Meat continues, it could be terribly misleading. Listen, it just so happens there's a big market for misleading information. And Meat philosophically says, the trouble is, he's right.